all these $1 million HDBs are basically just headlines. It's basically the same stuff that I do on my YouTube channel. I talk about market crash every other day. But the market is not crashing every other day. It's just a clickbait to clickbait people in.
Yeah.
But with that being said, if this trend continues, if property continues to double every 20 years, we could be easily seeing $1 million HDBs by 2040, 2050.
Emotional damage.
Welcome to Real Estate Real Advice, Ohmyhome's very own podcast. Come join us every month as we chat with an expert in their field talking about all things property. I'm your host, Audrey, and today we have a very special guest. We will be discussing home ownership and how that plays a part in your investment portfolio. Now, you may recognize this man right here. He's a very familiar face for a lot of us out there. He has a very popular YouTube channel that focuses on all things money and finance. We're joined by none other than Kelvin Tan from Kelvin Learns Investing. Hi, Kelvin.
Hi, guys.
Thanks so much for joining us today.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Kelvin from Kelvin Learns Investing. My channel talks mainly about anything related to money, personal finance, credit cards, even property. So that's what I'm doing recently.
We actually watch your videos here all the time, and we really enjoy all of your content, whether it's interest rates or like credit cards and stuff like that. But of course, your topics on property, we follow very, very closely, especially, you know, your video about rent soaring in Singapore and the rising interest rates. And of course, you know, those $1 million HDB flats, just like taking over all of the headlines. So we will definitely be talking about all of those things today.
Great.
Thank you so much for joining Real Estate Real Advice. Let's kick it off with something easy. Our first segment is called Story Time.
Right.
Now, what we do in this segment is that we basically ask our guests to share a story about anything, like their favorite client, their favorite moment, but we're going to switch it up today. We just want to hear more about you and your personal property journey.
Sure.
So you've been very open online. You talk about how much you make. You talk about how you grow the pot, how you invest your own your money. It's very personal information, and we know that home ownership could also be something quite personal. But if you're willing to share your story of your home buying journey and whether you own a home, that would be wonderful.
Right.
Yeah.
So I bought a home probably around 5 years ago. That will be around 2017.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that was when I got married with my wife and we wanted to settle down. But back then we were still PR, so we could only buy resale.
Oh.
And we weren't eligible for any of the grants. So we have to like empty out our CPF account, empty out our savings account and just buy a house. So we bought a home somewhere in Tampines. It's a 4-room HDB, probably about 60 years left. So it's not that expensive at that time. Probably it's more expensive now.
Yeah.
And we chose the bank loan because we can't take HDB loan at that time also.
I see.
So looking back, I think it's probably one of the best decisions that I could make. I didn't over leverage too much. Mm-hmm. It was manageable. It's still manageable now. So yeah.
Yeah, we do want to talk about the dangers of over leveraging a little bit more. But if you can talk to us a little bit more about your buying process. What was it like, searching for that flat, and how did that go?
Actually, the buying process is quite easy because I use property agent, not Ohmyhome. It's my friend. It's basically my friend.
Okay.
So he helped me. He basically drove me around to look at houses every other weekend. So we covered probably within a month about 30, 40 houses.
Wow.
And I think our whole process was sped up because of him. And also he helped us to negotiate the prices down. So I guess that's the value of property agents. Some people may not like them because they feel very scammy or something. But I think if you find a good agent, they can help you save quite a lot of time, quite a lot of money, a lot of headache, all settled by them. So that's the price, that's the value that you get when you get a good agent.
Yeah. So did you look through listings yourself, or was it mostly your friend, your agent friend, who sifted through all the listings
I
and
think
sent them
it's
to you?
more like half-half. So we look through the listings. We say, oh, we want this kind. So he will add it to his list. At the same time, he's also finding his own list to let us view lah. So in the end, that's how we come up with the whole list. It's a mixture. He will ask us, which area do you want? So we will tell him this general area. Then he will help us sift through to look through the houses. Yeah.
Okay. And just looking forward a little bit, what do you think is your next step in your property journey? Do you ever aspire to like move into a private property, or any investments in the future, you think?
So here I have a story to share. So prior to this whole YouTube thing, I was actually looking at a lot of property videos on YouTube. When I look at those videos, I tell my wife, these are the condo that I want to buy in the future. Then she look at the price, $1 million. So I think it's not necessarily that I want to buy that. It's just a goal for me to aspire to lah. And when you have something to aspire to, you can sort of visualize how you will get there. So then last year there was the whole, not last year, in 2020-21 there was the whole stock market. It just went up to the moon, kind of thing. And I was starting to see, this is actually possible. I might be able to upgrade in 1 to 2 years time. Turns out that dream was shattered and the whole market crashed back down. So I just woke back up.
I know why I'm laughing. It's actually sad. Yeah.
So yeah, I think that was the same thing for everyone else. Everyone see that, I could become millionaire in 2021. Turns out that's not the case. Back to reality. Everyone has gone back to reality. So now, at that time I was already dreaming of a condo already. But now I'm like tell my wife, let's live normally for now. Stay in the HDB, live humbly first. Yeah, so that's my plan. Long term wise, I'm still open to buying a condo. And I'm still okay with staying in an HDB. The reason is because HDB is good for living, and condo, if the reason for moving into a condo is not because of the swimming pool or anything. I think I can easily go to a swimming pool nearby. It's more like when you live in a condo, you have more flexibility to do stuff with your property. For example, you can cash out refinance, pull the money back out from your property. You can buy another second property if you're rich enough. So I think there's a lot of things that you can do with your condo that you can't do with HDB. So it opens up your options a lot more. So if ever I get rich, probably I will move to a condo as a financial move.
Okay. So you actually move and live in the condo. You wouldn't just acquire one to rent out or to
for
use
now,
it
not really There's the whole what's that, additional buyer's stamp duty that's going to kill me. So if ever I upgrade, it's definitely it's a financial move, not a egoistic move. Yeah.
Following this story, do you personally believe that real estate could actually be a good investment?
So I think let's look at some stats. HDB, over the 20 years, the price index have more than doubled. It was like 80 now, 80 previously, now it's like 160 or even more. So all the apek amas, all the auntie uncle got rich from HDBs. That's a fact, right? But they can't sell it otherwise they don't have anywhere to stay. But that being said, if you bought your HDBs back then and you rent it out now, your yield would be easily like 10% or even more. So that's the first thing about property. It's easy to rent out properties in Singapore because of how high the demand is because of all the foreigners coming in. Probably about 40-30% of people who stay here are foreigners. So there's a huge demand to rent property. Then the other thing is the government is trying to the whole property market is kept afloat. It's very hard to crash. Probably the famous last words but for now I don't see a way that it could crash because of how high the demand is. It's very similar to like Hong Kong kind of way where the only way it can go up is up unless the government go and intervenes and crash the market by themselves.
Right.
Otherwise I don't see it happening. So when you have, then the third thing is properties are it follows inflation very closely. So when you buy a house now, it should go up 10-20 years later. The rental should go up alongside with it.
Yeah.
So I've heard of people who, so I know a girl who, Siek, who sort of moved out of Singapore to retire in Bali. Then she ran out her property.
Sounds like a nice life.
Yeah. then when I asked her, how are you supplementing your life? She said her renter is keeping up with the inflation. That's why she doesn't have to worry about inflation costs going up in Bali, because this is basically going up faster than your work salary. So so in short, I think property is a good investment if you have the money to invest in it.
I just want to say that in hopefully soon, 2, 5, 10 years time, when you're looking to buy a condo, maybe give Ohmyhome a try. You know, we have great agents, and we have a free app if you want to take a look at listings as well. But thank you so much for that story. It's very entertaining. Now we're going to go on to our next segment. So our next segment, Kelvin, it's called the $1 Million Question. Now we don't usually have this segment, but we came up with it for Kelvin Learns Investing. So we want to focus a little bit on over leveraging for this question. So we watched your video, Is Singapore Property Crashing? And you talked about, you know, home prices climbing steadily in Singapore. In stark contrast to like the US or even Hong Kong, we're just going up, 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 up. Now, just recently, last week, a unit at Pinnacle at Duxton sold again for $1.4 million, right? And we saw a record of such homes just last year.
Yes.
So what are your thoughts on this? And what do you think of, you know, people possibly over leveraging, but really like dumping a lot of their money on expensive properties, like expensive resale HDB flats? What are your thoughts on that?
Right, so all these $1 million HDBs are basically just headlines. It's basically the same stuff that I do on my YouTube channel. I talk about market crash every other day. But the market is not crashing every other day. It's just a clickbait to clickbait people in.
Yeah.
In reality, if you look at the stats, it's just 1%. It's less than 1%, 0.4%, or somewhere there over the past 5 years. So that's a very, very minority. But with that being said, if this trend continues, if property continues to double every 20 years, we could be easily seeing $1 million HDBs by 2040, 2050. Those will be the majority, and those under 1 million would be the minority instead.
Yeah.
So I think that's the fact of life. Inflation just keeps going on, and everything has to keep climbing up in prices. As to whether people are over leveraging, so we can we can look at like OCBC, the Wellness Index. So they've checked in 2021, 9% of people were unable to pay their mortgage, were having difficulty paying their mortgage.
Yeah.
No idea why. Probably because loans were cheaper back in 2020, and all of them were like all in buying, selling one to buy two homes.
Yeah.
So that was a dangerous move, and now they realize that they can't pay.
Yeah.
Then in 2022, this 9% jumped up to 15%. So even more people are unable to pay right now.
Yeah.
So I guess there's no choice. If you can't afford to pay your property, there's only a few moves you can make. Either refinance, either talk to the bank to extend your loan tenure so that you can pay less the interest, I guess. And the third one, the worst case scenario is just to downgrade your property. I think downgrading isn't a bad thing to do right now, given that property price have gone up so much. So you're sort of realizing your gains, not losses. So either way, I don't think things. There are a lot of backups. So even if you are over leveraging now, it's a bad move. But I don't think the situation is as bad because if you are rich enough to buy two properties, three properties, you are definitely rich enough to downgrade and not get into trouble.
Yeah. So you talked about the importance of having a diverse investment portfolio. How much would you suggest like someone's investment portfolio should, how much of that should be property? Like, you know, if you can talk a little bit more about how diverse you think someone's portfolio should be, that would be helpful.
I think this answer depends for everyone. If you ask those aunties, they'll be 100% into properties. If you ask me, people will know that I'm almost 70-80% into one single stock. So it depends on your risk tolerance. But I guess if you want a very well balanced kind of portfolio, probably property would be like 40-50% of your entire portfolio lah. That means if you have like $1 million, this property you'll be investing about 500k into property, 500k into equities, stock equities lah. So I think it depends from person to person. What's your risk tolerance like? Because to be honest, property is a very long-term game lah. If you are buying it, you are most likely going to rent it out. So a rental yield would be about 2 to 4 to 5%. So it's enough to supplement your basic living, but it's not enough to get rich lah in the short term, for at least. So probably yeah, like I say, it depends from person to person.
Okay, so if you take someone like me, I'm not about to reveal my age. Let's just say I'm in my 30s, right? If I'm in my 30s and I'm looking to diversify my investment portfolio, are you able to give a little bit more concrete, like 20% this, 30% this, like for someone like me, you know, of my age group?
I think the first question would be like, do you like property investment? Or do you find it easier to invest in stocks? Because stocks you can buy and sell anytime. Even though that's not a good thing to do. Basically, you can easily get back your cash.
And property is not liquid. Like
property, it's a forced savings thing.
Yeah.
Once you buy, you have to hold it for, I don't know, a few years or even more. So it depends what you want.
Okay, let's just say yes. Yes, I'm a big fan of property investments.
Then you go and buy property. So for that, you have to look at what's your income basically, because there's that whole mortgage servicing ratio. Is it called mortgage servicing?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah. There's a whole mortgage servicing ratio of about 30%. For property, I would say, okay, this is my inexperienced me talking. For property, I would say is the risk is very low compared to equities because of, okay, first thing, you don't have to be worried about the banks calling to take back your property if it drops in value. So there's no margin call in property. And the second thing, property prices, it can crash. It somehow crashed in 2013 because of all the cooling measures, but eventually it went back up again. So property is a very long-term game, and the risk for doing long-term is very low compared to equities. So for equities, a bank can crash. A bank can crash and bring the whole stock market down 10% one day. Then it goes back up 10% the other day. So property, I would say, is a lot lower risk as long as you can afford to pay the mortgage. So you have to be very careful about not to over leverage too much. So that's the whole mortgage servicing ratio of 30%. Of course, you don't aim for 30%. I aim for much lower, like 20%, 15%. That kind of numbers. So as long as you can meet that, then property, I would say, is a very good long-term game. Yeah. Okay.
Good answer. Okay. Let's move on to tips from our guest.
Sure.
So you've already given us so many tips, but I want to talk about tips for people who are trying to earn income from property. Okay, so you've spoken about REITs in some of your videos. So if someone wants to get income from property, they really have two options. They could either buy a property and then rent it out, or get income from that,
right,
or they can choose the REIT option and buy REITs.
Correct.
What are if you can walk us through the pros and cons of these two options and your personal beliefs? What's more feasible? What's more successful? You know.
What's more successful, I would say, is definitely property. You wouldn't see a millionaire going all into REITs lah. They would definitely go into properties. The main reason is because you are using the bank's money to earn money. So let's say if you can borrow 80%, you are borrowing the 80% to earn a yield on that money. While for stocks, REITs, you can do that, but you are risking yourself getting a margin call. So if you are rich enough, it's definitely property is the better game. But of course,
if you're not rich enough?
If you're not rich enough, go for REITs. So if you compare them side by side, okay, so for properties, you can break it down further. There's the HDB, 4% yield. There's the condo, around 2 to 3% yield. Commercial would probably be around 4%. I think that's the last I checked.
Okay.
So then you look at REITs, it's also around 2 to 5%. The better ones right now is around 4 to 5%. So the yields are very, very similar. Then when you look at the price capital growth, properties has doubled that time. REITs have also doubled or even tripled around that time. So their growth are also very similar. The only difference is how much you are leveraging to buy that thing. So if you are coming out with 100K and you borrow for 100K, then obviously your profit from property will be a lot higher compared to REITs.
Right.
If you invest 100K in both. So it's definitely property is a much longer, much better investment choice. Given that also, because both of them are more or less guaranteed to go up. For REITs, as long as the company is good, it has a long good track record. The dividend keeps going up. You can expect that in the future this will continue on.
Yeah.
Then for property, as long as the market continues to do its thing, nothing changed too much. Then there's the supply coming in. I think it will keep following this trend. So both are good investments. It's just that if you are rich enough, then go for property.
So our final segment, usually it's content of the month. So we talk about content. So we were happy to have you mention as one of your recent videos is rent soaring. I'm a renter actually, so that actually scared me. But good to see that Ohmyhome was on there. It was a very informative video. We will link that video in our description box below. You guys should go check it out. But besides that, so now that you've been introduced to Ohmyhome, you know that we are a prop tech company. We have our app. We also have agent services. We buy, sell, rent, renovate. We try to help all of our clients through every property journey. And we are, first and foremost, a tech company, I would say. Now, I know that you were a programmer in the past life before you came and dominated YouTube, right?
No, don't say that.
But before this, you were a programmer, and I was just wondering, what do you think that there's anything that you would like to see happen in the prop tech space? Anything that you think could help further revolutionize the space? Speaking from like an ex-programmer's perspective.
Right. So the last I bought a house, it was 2017. Obviously, a lot of improvements happened since then. So I could only speak from back then, the experience. Okay, so back then I felt that the whole viewing process is very tedious. You have to go to a house, spend your time there 10-20 minutes, or go to the next house, spend the time. So if you have like a 3D viewing of the whole house, that will help a lot. I guess that's what property. I guess that's what Ohmyhome is doing right now.
Yeah, we have the 3D imaging. So all of our listings, you can actually have a 3D model of what the house looks
so
like.
that would help a lot, especially for like students or expats who wants to come to Singapore, but they are not around here yet. So they can easily view everything first before moving in. Then the second thing is probably the whole paperwork process. Back then I had to go to the lawyer office to settle everything. Nowadays when I do YouTube, everything is online, so I sign online or DocuSign or whatever. Then send it back. Then everything is done. Everyone's happy. But at that time, I had to take a leaves for I think don't know how many times to sign a contract, meet the agent, sign a contract, go to HDB, sign a contract, go to lawyer, sign a contract. So it felt very, very tedious. If all this can be done online without taking any leaves, I guess they will help everyone.
So you were talking earlier about your agent friend actually driving you to different viewings. Did you say 30 to 40 viewings that month or something?
Yeah, so we were checking out HDBs every week. So there was about 4 to 5 weeks. Every day was checking about 10.
Wow.
So I guess that was worth it.
But I think to your point, especially in the past, real estate transactions have been very traditional, very human to human. Now that everything is slowly moving digitally, how do you feel about that? Do you feel like, besides the viewings being 3D, do you like the fact that now everything is, you could actually view a property, have all of the information about that property right on a single page? How do you actually feel about that? Or do you actually like that human to human driving around with your friend?
I think the whole 3D thing is good. So it sort of gives you a preview lah. It's a sort of a movie trailer of your house.
And if you like it, you could always go.
So it's basically like a dating app. You see the girl you like, you swipe right first. You see the face, but you don't know the personality of the girl. Right? So it's filtered by the face. Okay, you like this face. So it's the same thing as viewing a house. You like this, how this house looks, the interior.
How do you feel?
Yes, then you swipe right. So it filters out a lot of wasted time.
Yeah.
Because when I look at properties, when I go there, once I step in, I can immediately tell that I don't like this property already. But since I'm there, I have to go and check out every room to be polite at the homeowner lah. So if that can be cut out, so I would be safe. Everyone will save a lot of time. The homeowners, the agents, and me lah. So I guess that would be the first thing. Once you like it, then you can still go down, check out the surroundings, check out the interior, check out the sun, or this stuff lah. Yeah. So I think so that whole 3D thing is beneficial. It's probably essential to save everyone's time lah.
Yeah. So I know that because you had a friend who happened to be an agent, and of course, I'm sure you had a great experience with him. What would you say what are your like top 3 criteria for like the agent that you would go with? If let's just say you didn't have that friend and you were sifting through some agents, how would you end up picking the agent to help you buy your house, sell your house?
I guess it just depends on how enthusiastic he is. You can probably tell from the first day you meet him lah. Not during the handshake. It's during the house viewing or something, because he will help you ask things that you might want to know, and not just trying to push the property to you.
Right.
So I don't know how to explain that. It's basically a feeling of how enthusiastic the guy is into helping you.
Yeah. But thank you so much for joining us today. It was a really great conversation. Thank you for shedding more light on the investment sector and how property could play a part in
thanks
your
for the
investment.
invite.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and if you want to catch Kelvin online, tell people how they could find you on YouTube.
Probably if you are on YouTube and if you are in Singapore, you have seen this face lah. But in case you haven't, you can go search Kelvin Learns Investing to find my YouTube channel. So I've also Instagram and Telegram where you can also check out.
Do you upload daily?
I upload every 2 days. So it's every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Yes.
And it varies, right? You could talk about credit card one day and you could talk about something else.
I mostly talk about hot topics and also topics that can help you guys lah, and help me lah. So that's my focus.
If you need help looking for that condo, we have a whole team here to help you.
Okay.
Thank you guys so much, and thank you for tuning in to Real Estate Real Advice. Come join us every month as we talk to an expert in their field talking about all things property. See you guys next episode. Bye.
Bye.